What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and today we take a look at the first full Monster Mash movie. We've had Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, And today we go to 1945's House of Frankenstein, starring Boris Karloff, Lon Chaney Jr., John Carradine, J. Carrol Naish, Anne Gwynn, Lionel Atwell, George Zucco, Peter Coe, Sig Ruman, and Glenn Strange. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And like I said during the introduction, today we're going to get our first full feature Monster Mash movie. We've got Lon Chaney Jr. returning as the Wolfman. We have John Carradine stepping into the role of Count Dracula. And we have Glenn Strange in his first performance as the Frankenstein Monster. Boris Karloff is back in the swing of things, but he plays a new character, Dr. Gustav Niemann. He's kind of the main character of everything. He's dubbed the mad scientist of the role. We have a very Quasimodo-esque hunchback assistant to Dr. Niemann by the name of Daniel. So we've got all these different folklore monster-type characters. The Frankenstein Monster, Dracula, the Wolfman, a mad scientist, a hunchback, all together in this film. It's crazy. It's awesome. Let's get into it here, shall we? Now, as our movie opens, Dr. Gustav Niemann escapes from prison along with his hunchback assistant, Daniel, for whom he promises to create a new, beautiful body. The two murder Professor Lampini, who's a traveling showman, and take over his horror exhibit, which supposedly houses the bones of Count Dracula. So in order to exact revenge on the Burgermeister, Hussman, who had put Dr. Niemann into prison, Niemann decides to revive Count Dracula by removing the stake that is in his heart. Dracula then seduces Hussman's granddaughter-in-law, Rita, and kills Hussman himself. However, in a subsequent chase, Niemann disposes of Dracula's coffin, causing the vampire to perish in the sunlight. Niemann and Daniel then move on to the flooded ruins of Castle Frankenstein in Visaria, where they discover the bodies of the Frankenstein monster, as well as Larry Talbot, the Wolfman, preserved in the frozen castle. Niemann decides to thaw them out and then promises to find Talbot a cure for his curse. However, Niemann is more interested in reviving the monster and extracting his revenge on two traitorous former associates rather than keeping his promises. As a result, Larry has another episode, transforming into the Wolfman, killing a man, which sends the villagers into panic. Niemann and Daniel then save a gypsy girl named Ianka, and Daniel begins to fall in love with her. It is unrequited, however, as Ianka ends up falling in love with Larry Talbot. Daniel tries to warn Ianka that Talbot is a werewolf, but she is undeterred and promises Talbot that she will help him. Events reach their crisis point when Niemann revives the monster successfully and Talbot once again becomes the Wolfman. The Wolfman attacks and fatally wounds Ianka, but she manages to shoot and kill Talbot with a silver bullet before she dies. Daniel blames Niemann and turns on him, but the monster intervenes and throws Daniel out of the window before carrying the half-conscious Niemann outside, where the villagers chase them into the marshes, and both the monster and Dr. Niemann drown in the quicksand. I feel like this is a very good story and a great way to kind of tie all the characters in together. You know, you've got Dr. Neiman taking over the traveling horror show with the bones of Count Dracula, and then moving on to finding Castle Frankenstein, where Talbot and the Frankenstein monster are frozen after the events of Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, where they blew up the dam. And everything here really sort of fits and comes together, which unfortunately is something that can't be said for the later House of Dracula, which we'll get to in a couple days. It's very hard for me to understand how in that film all these monsters can be resurrected once again when Larry has now been killed with a silver bullet and Dracula is disintegrated due to exposure through the sunlight. All these things that are supposedly supposed to be, the deal enders for these characters. And yet, once again, they're going to be resurrected. It's a little bit different story when we get to Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, because that's more of a standalone. But this really should have been the final curtain, if you will, for all these characters. And, I've made it abundantly clear that the Wolfman is my favorite of all these. You've really got to start feeling bad for Larry, because every follow-up movie to the Wolfman, he just wants somebody to help him rid him of his curse. And every time the monster ends up taking precedent. Okay, Larry, we'll help you, Mr. Talbot. Ooh, shiny, the Frankenstein monster. I'm going to put my attention over here. You can wait. No, you can't wait. Next full moon, you're going to turn into a wolf and kill people, but this is more important right now. And I've always thought that sucked for the character of Larry Talbot, because he just wants to be rid of this burden. And every time he finds somebody that's willing to help him, they end up upon the Frankenstein monster. And because he is a man-made creation, and because the name Frankenstein holds such prestige, and people want to be able to say that they one-upped Dr. Henry Frankenstein, Talbot always gets put on the back burner. I really enjoy House of Frankenstein. I would say next to Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, it is the best monster mashup film. And again, we'll get more in depth with Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein later this week, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But as far as the movies that bring Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, and the Wolfman together, next to Abbott and Costello, which I said is a standalone, this is the best one. Because all the stories are there and present, and it all makes sense why each character is where we find them. And considering that by the time this movie came around in 1945, we had been churning these monster movies out for 14 years. For there to be that much continuity in something that wasn't planned to be a shared universe, I think is just tremendous, and well done on the screenwriters, the directors, the producers, and the film studio themselves for paying attention to the little details and nuances that need to be connected. Even though John Carradine is stepping into the role of Dracula, the stake is in the heart, which is where Bela Lugosi and his Dracula was killed. Dracula's daughter and the son of Dracula, those weren't the real Count Dracula. Bela Lugosi's was. So for John Carradine's to be having the stake in the heart right where Bella's was, ties the two performances together. So we know this is the same Count Dracula from the 1931 film. He just looks a little bit different. Other than that, it's the same character. The Wolfman and the Frankenstein Monster are found exactly where they were at the end of the previous installment. All the right reasons to be there. And it's just so well done, in my opinion. Curious to know what my fans think of this one. What do you guys think of House of Frankenstein? For me, when it comes to this one, I'm going to give it pretty high marks. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars. It's definitely not a 5-star classic, but I feel like it really holds up in comparison to all the other monster films that we've discussed to date. And like I said, the way they tie all the stories together to put the characters at the right place, the right time, for the right reasons. And that's the most important one, for the right reasons. Really helps the continuity and the way the structure of the story is laid out. 4 out of 5 stars for me. Again, what do you guys think? Those of you out there that have seen House of Frankenstein, let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Whatever you do, though, when you get out there on social media, let's try to get those hashtags trending. Hashtag Casa D18 Studios, hashtag Renegades Reviews, hashtag Renegade Returns, and of course, the ever popular hashtag Shenanigans. We interrupt this episode of Renegades Reviews for an important announcement about
merchandising.
Merchandising? What's that?
Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Merchandising, merchandising, where the real money's made.
Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network for all the t-shirts you see here from the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham himself. You can get shirts for the Jeff Meacham Network, Talk Wrestling, as well as the red and gold Meachamania shirts. And while you're there, don't forget to get your shirts of the Casa D18 Studios Brotherhood, the Dads on Wrestling shirt, the Renegade JJ Williams, Statboy Sports Bar, and the hashtag Statboy Approved shirt. Make sure you go over to teespring.com/stores/Jeff Meacham Network and score your shirts today. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow, right back here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, when we return to the Mummy story and the last chapter of the Karas saga, The Mummy's Curse, with Lon Chaney Jr. once again in the role of Karas. You're not going to want to miss out on that one, as it'll be the final Mummy film until we get to Abbott and Costello Meets the Mummy in a few days from now. So you're definitely not going to want to miss out the final official chapter of the Mummy saga. To all my loyal fans and viewers out there tuning in for the premiere, leaving your thoughts and comments over here, thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. Likewise, all my loyal fans and viewers out there tuning in a little bit later in the day, watching on demand, leaving your thoughts and comments down here. Thank you very much. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate all my loyal fans and viewers out there tuning in on a regular basis. Show me that love, show me that support. Going back to the archives, digging up the old episodes from the Casa D18 Studios channel in an effort to help me boost up my viewership hours and eventually allow me to get monetized and make some money on this endeavor. Thank you very much to each and every one of you who tuned in and joined me today, and I will see you guys next time.